My name's Cindy Noyd, and I'm reviewing this book, Beginning Drawing Atelier. I teach K-12 in a small school, 340 students. I use this book in my 10th grade classroom specifically, but I'm able to then scaffold it up to my 11th and 12th grade and also down all the way through kindergarten, some of the general ideas. Juliette Aristides is the author. She has written several books, so lessons in classical drawing atelier, and then we have lessons in classical painting as well as classical drawing atelier. All these books are fabulous and dense with so much information. A little too much for me at times when I'm looking to create a curriculum that I can use all year long. But again, great reference, and you can see that I do the lessons straight out of there. But for the classroom, I really love the Beginning Drawing Atelier for my K-12, as well as when I'm teaching adults one-on-one. And it also gives them a way so they can practice their skills right in the book and continue to practice whenever they want. I strive to give my students, every single one of them, 340 of them, the art education that I didn't feel that I got. So what does that mean? It's like teaching art like you would teach piano, where the child learns the scales or the notes first and then the scales and then the fingering, and then they practice and they play Little Mary Had a Little Lamb and so on until they can actually play something. And basically they work for years before they can actually compose something well. Art to me should be taught in a similar fashion, so that's why I love the atelier methods. Skill building, all methods that can be taught to all kids. Looking here at the table of contents, she gets right into the elements of art and design, specifically to drawing. So we have line, shape, volume, value, form, and portraits. And if you look over to the right, there's just one of my students' binder. They keep that first grade through sixth grade. And you can see that I have the elements of design there. So this is something that they're used to seeing. By the time they get to the 10th grade, they should know this. So page 12 are full of a lot of different tips and materials. I basically use this book in the 10th grade with a basic pencil or drawing pencils, kneaded erasers, all that good stuff. So you don't need a lot of fancy materials. Making the master copy super important to atelier training. So you can pull out the bark plates and work from lots of different masters. In this case, using Beginning Atelier, this book has so many great images that are right on par for somebody that's just needing to build skill to feel confident in learning to draw, learning skills and building upon those skills. So I think it's an excellent book. But just know as well, you can get bark plates and master copies too, which I do with my students on just different levels. There's so much out there, but if I only had one book, I would go with this one. No, chapter 1 dives right into line, and I think it's just brilliant the way Juliette has started off the first couple of pages just with drawing letters, because we all can draw letters. And of course with calligraphy, thinking about thick and thin lines during the stroke. So even if you're working with somebody that hasn't done calligraphy, you can talk about thick and thin lines, pressure of the pencil. I did show you two different pencils there. Mechanical will work, but it's just not wide enough. So maybe having a number 2 pencil might fit the purposes of this a little bit better, so you can get a thicker line on that downstroke. And once you're finished with this page, such a good practice, then you can turn to page 20 and practice some more lines, some gesture lines, working thick and thin up and down to the side, and then jumping right into this lily project, which really isn't part of the book, but something that I love doing with the students. I've done this particular lily by Sydney McGinley several times with different age groups. When I'm working specifically with this book, I can just have them take some tracing paper, put it right over the top. Of course, you can see the line weight. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So not only are they trying to trace it, but match, like pressing heavy or thickly with that pencil and then lightening up and then trying to follow the curves as well. I've done this a couple years with the students. It's pretty much instant success. Now, if I get the sense that the kids really like this, then after they do this, I can have them, of course, turn it over and give it a light wash of graphite and take a nicer piece of drawing paper. We'll just use that one there. Of course, then they get to do it again. Now, they think they're just tracing it, but you're asking them again to go, where is it thicker? And you're pressing harder. Where is that line lighter? I'm holding my pencil or I'm holding my brush. Thick, thin lines. Thick, thin lines. And this is such a beautiful lily to practice on. They always love it. So then you have the transfer. So now, as a jumping off point, you could have them go back in with graphite. But what I've done the last couple of years is let them go ahead and color it with colored pencil in any color that they would like. And if you choose a nice paper and you can mount it, it could be a card or a gift for somebody. So I do love this page for that. As you're looking through the book and working through it, once in a while you'll find like the kids like a certain page that they're working on. So I would do this one just, site size, whatever, 1-to-1 ratio. Or sometimes I will have them grid it out and increase the size. So here you're seeing 14 inches tall. And they did such a beautiful job. And it was the type of class that wanted to be able to slow down and try to get the shading and values into the folds of the fabric. So it was excellent for this class, although last year I just did the same size right out of the book. It just depends on what you're doing. I found that just going page by page isn't really going to work in the classroom, nor do I want to do a lot of lecturing. So oftentimes I'll find jump off points. Like maybe you introduce this cat that's all cute and curled up, and then we draw the box shape around it. Learn how to find the center of the page, being able to map out the circle, and being able to measure. So I try to as I'm working with the class, once I can get them to do the square, then the circle shape after they found the center, then we can talk about measuring and getting quite in depth for those that want it. And those that need to slow down and back it up a little bit, they can do that as well and have good success drawing their cat. Juliette's book does have quite a bit of grid drawings at the beginning, and then moves away from it towards the end. But learning to make a block in and finding the lines, the grids are just so helpful for the students and giving them like instant success. I have found a fun project to jump off of as well. So maybe they do the grid on a Tuesday, and then on Thursday they have to bring in a photograph or image, and we can print it at school, of their own dog, and then they can learn to grid and do a drawing off of that. And of course they love that. They love sharing about their dogs, all levels, even 10th, 11th grade. I love doing that project. This book is so well thought out on how the skills build upon each other, and of course you can read all through it and go through it, but with the students sometimes I don't want to lecture. I don't want them to draw, so maybe we move to an easy project like going outside and finding their own leaf and bringing it in, and then being able to draw, some a leaf form like that. So we are doing some live practice at the same time. Just another idea for you. I like to start all levels, also doing pair share. Hopefully they're sitting next to somebody that they can trust to have them compare their drawing. And you can see with the silhouettes here that we've drawn a little outline of somebody's drawing, and then put it right on top of the silhouette of the woman, and they can see that what's off and what's right. And then over on the middle picture there, you can see we're drawing lines across also, so they can draw that line across. This is student work where they can see where maybe they're matching up and where they're off a little bit. Good to learn to evaluate with a partner and with their own work. Oh, I love it when we get to the chapters on drawing geometric solids. Gosh, the students just really love this, especially if they're in geometry or they've learned it in one of their math classes. It just helps things to make sense to them. And I can ask them to do, 10 of each shape, and they do it. And you can have them do it right in the book. You can have them continue on a separate piece of paper, or they each have sketchbooks, so they'll put them into their sketchbooks. They do love it, and have almost instant success. Getting into tone. That lunch bag sample there in the book is a pretty good place to start, but for some reason I've had trouble when we get into the scene of the Seattle beach with the railroad. I don't know if last year I just felt like I rushed him or what was going on with that one, but if I want to repeat that one, I need to slow it down. I have a feeling maybe that scene wasn't very interesting to them. I love it. I love seeing all the different tones and trying to match all the values, but anyway, I'll reconsider that one. Just wanted you to know, a little trouble spot for me. To draw form, they love this. So first we'd start with the value scale, 0 to 9, and then being able to draw just in a sketchbook, draw a circle, and then be able to find the light spot, the core shadow, and then the shadow that hits the desk. Of course, is always a great place to start. I love the images in Juliette's book. Maps it out in different ways for students to think about it, maybe from different ways. And also a great jumping off point is to use a black box and then have that styrofoam ball lit. And here's a dollar store light that's lighting it up, so students can then transfer their knowledge from 2D to 3D. And the number one thing my students told me this year in a poll that I took is they want to be able to draw faces. So for years I do a before and after picture. They look at a mirror, so you can see over on the right hand side you have a before picture of themselves, and then I do a quick instruction, and you can see much improvement on the picture to the right. But all the youngers, everything's like just face forward or like that. But for your older students, it's time to leave that and look at some different ways of drawing the human head, such as Juliette goes over just simplifying the head into a head shape, then not worried about noses and eyes, etc., etc. And then also gets into like a little bit of Loomis as well too. Great place to start. And of course, the rest of her instruction just keeps getting better through the end of the book. Students want to be able to draw faces. They want to be able to draw them well, over and over again, either themselves or from photographs. And I love what she says here, but because of the intensity of our emotions and everyone's familiarity with faces, drawing people is difficult. So taking the time to remove yourself from the emotions of drawing the face. And I love how she calls it a head study. So we're not worrying about drawing the eyes, nose, and the mouth, but we're really thinking about the shape of the head and the skull. And sometimes I'll jump off here and we'll do some practice with basically 2D copying of a skull. And then if I can get one of the plastic skulls from the science teacher, if I could bring that in too, then kids can put that in a black box and draw from that too. Don't always have time for that. Just depends on the year and what's happening with the timing. These chapters are really, really excellent and keep things simple, and she makes it seem simple enough that we can all do it, of course, right? Love it. Looking for the skull shape first, trying to find that circle, finding those edges, finding the middle for the eyes, etc., and finding those. This is really good to slow down here, maybe, and have them practice. Then we get into page 106 and 107, which are more like the Loomis type heads. So another way of drawing or thinking about drawing the human head is good. There's several ways for, teaching methods or ways that we can all learn from, so that we can draw how we want to draw in the end. And again, just the book starts off, it's so beautiful. You can start off so simply, right? Come over here and use everything that you've learned with the notional space box, the envelope, dividing it up, and then moving into adding the value scale for form. And of course, some really fun ones to practice as you go through. Now, at any point, I could take a photograph, from themselves that they brought in and make it a black and white, and they could have really good success in that way too. I really, really have been enjoying this beginning a Drawing Atelier in my 10th grade classroom, and again, I scaffold down all the way to kindergarten with the same concepts and then work them up through 11th and 12th grade. So my 11th grade is, they're my master drawing class, so they just do drawing skills, and their end is to do a master copy of a drawing, and my seniors do a master painting. But hopefully they had the skills based here and in their elementary years working up to be able to further their skills all the way through. So I really like this book is like one-stop shopping for me, the teacher, to make lesson plans that seem to make sense for the kind of art education that I'd like them to have, all skill-based, all doable. Thanks for your time.